Hello, everybody, and welcome to Giving to the Givers, behind the scenes of 21 charitable organizations who are doing incredible things for our world. And we're really excited to have you here today. I'm Christy Corwin with the Build a Better World Foundation. And Build a Better World Foundation was inspired by the extraordinary lives of my grandparents, Gina and Russell Garcia. My grandfather, Russell, was a world-renowned composer, arranger, conductor in the music world, and my grandmother was also in the music world as well. And they did so much humanitarian work worldwide, and so we're carrying on that vision and that legacy. And how we do that is we produce concerts and events that support youth and young people, the empowerment of youth and the arts, as well as supporting other nonprofit charitable organizations that are already existing, and we help to support them. And so today, it's very exciting. We're having, the organization is called UnityWorks. And we have with us today Randie Gottlieb, who is the founder and executive director, right, of the organization currently. And so Randie, why don't you share with us a little bit about the mission and a little bit of the story, the spark behind creating UnityWorks, and share with us. It's exciting.
Thank you, Christy, and thank you for all the good work that you're doing in our communities and in our world, much needed. I am excited to be talking with you today. UnityWorks is a nonprofit educational organization, and we are committed to a belief in the oneness of humanity, the value of diversity, and the need for unity. And that's where the name comes from, because unity works. And our mission is to reduce prejudice, to promote cross-racial and cross-cultural understanding, equity, and inclusion, and we have a special focus on K-12 schools. So we work primarily with teachers, principals, and also community leaders. We provide training, we provide educational resources, and ongoing support for their efforts. Our program began in Washington State 5 years ago, when I retired. And we are now hoping to expand to other parts of the world as well, other parts of the state and beyond. And I began UnityWorks because when I returned to this country from overseas 27 years ago, my husband and I looked around and thought, what does this country need the most? Where are we headed? What are some of the issues and challenges? And what stood out to me the most was questions of prejudice and race. And so as I look around today, we've become even more fractured and polarized over some of the issues of diversity. And I know we can't solve all the problems, especially as teachers. I spent many years as a teacher myself, but there is a lot we can do. And my goal is to give people those trainings, tools, resources, and hope. And the final thought is UnityWorks is inspired by the Baha'i teachings. I am a Baha'i, and one of the foundational principles is the unity of the human race, the oneness of humankind.
Yes, yes. And Gina and Russ, and as well as myself, are Baha'is as well. And it's a wonderful thing, the oneness. It's time. So with everything that you're doing to raise awareness and funds for your organization, what do you feel has been the most successful event or project that you've completed, or that you've been doing with UnityWorks? And what is that project, and why has it been so successful?
I would say the most successful for me is our school program, where schools can join the program, and the first step in their participation is a week-long training, which we put together every summer when teachers are off school. And that week-long training, it's about 40 hours. It's very intensive, very hands-on, interactive. People are up singing, dancing, making arts and crafts, moving around, human graphs, telling stories. It's really a lot of fun and participatory, but we're also dealing with very serious subjects, and that is racism and prejudice and sexism and stereotyping and all of those things, which can be very difficult for people to talk about. So I would say the most successful for me is seeing people in the back of the room on the first day with their arms folded. I don't know if you can see in the camera here, but the newspaper's up in front of their face. Their posture says, I'm not interested in this topic. I already know what you're going to say. You know, racism is a thing of the past. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Just by talking about it, you're causing more problems. And it's very exciting for me to see on the second day, those same people who are saying, you know, leave me alone. My principal made me come and I don't want to be here. They're starting to lean in. They've put the newspaper down. They're paying attention. On day 3, they're actually up and participating in all the activities with the groups. And on the final day, some of those people are standing in front of the classroom saying, my eyes have been opened. We really need to do this. I'm bringing it back to my school. I can't wait to tell my family. I'm going to make some changes in the way we do things around here. That to me is the most exciting for me. And then I think there's a part 2, if I have time to elaborate, is when, no?
Sure.
People, okay. On the final day of our training, each school team puts together a diversity action plan. And that is their plan based on their goals, their priorities. And we are there, UnityWorks is there to help them answer any questions, suggest some resources, and we provide support for those plans during the school year. And so if we have time, perhaps later I can share 1 or 2 of the plans that the schools have come up with, but it's so exciting to see those actually come together, and they have the pride of seeing their handiwork. They have ownership, and that includes parents, it includes students, it includes staff and faculty, it includes the lunch lady was in one of our last trainings, and the district data specialist, where everyone has a part to play, everyone's ideas are welcome, and they've made some pretty dramatic changes in their schools as a result. And I guess there's a third part. We bring them together at the end of the year for a spring multicultural conference where the teams then share what they've done, and it's kind of a show and tell, best practices, what challenges we faced, how we overcame them. Does anyone else have any ideas for us? And so that's a great time for cross-pollinating, sharing ideas. So
It's exciting. You know, there's such a need for these kind of programs. You know, not only for the kids and the students, but for the teachers, the principals, and everyone. And so the next question, kind of feeding off of the, you know, overcoming the prejudice. So how do you think that this can be accomplished, especially when we're taught, you know, from such a young age to kind of see people or view people as like them and us?
exactly.
And, you know, so how do you view that, you know, overcoming prejudice?
Yep. I think it's critical, and we have to do that if we want to survive as a human race, because we're at each other's throats and we're literally killing each other over these issues. And I would say, again, this goes back to the Baha'i teachings, and it's also central in many faiths, where the recognition of the oneness of humanity, as you said earlier, there's no us or them, it's all us. And when people come to understand that, that's a real paradigm shift, and that's a foundation on which we can build, to use some words from the title of Build a Better World Foundation. That's the foundation, is recognition of the oneness of humankind. And we do that by having people study both the science, the Human Genome Project, for example, which says that we have 99.9% of our genetic material in common. And look at what we've done with that 0.1%, right? So looking at the science of it, we are one human race. And then we also look at some of the quotations from the various world faiths, where it says, prefer your neighbor to yourself, and love is the greatest law. And we are one family, and we need to treat each other that way, the golden rule. That's in all of the religious traditions. This is probably one of the few places where science and religion are in complete harmony. We are one human race. So when the teachers enter the classroom on the first day, I give them a little 3x5 card and I ask them to write down the number of races that they think there are. And probably, usually the lowest number is 5, black, white, red, yellow, and brown. And then someone will say, well, what about Polynesians? Oh, okay, there's 6. Well, what about Arabs? Oh, okay, 7. And what about, and I've had people write down numbers like 82,964, or yes. And by the end of the class, at the end of the week-long training, I feel very confident in saying that every single person leaves that room knowing that we are one human race and believing that in their hearts. So I think it can be done.
That's so wonderful. Really, really wonderful. And, you know, there can't be enough said about teaching this theory of oneness. And it's just wonderful what you're doing. And what would you say has been the biggest challenge or the biggest struggle you've had, and why?
I would say first is convincing people that we even have a problem, that there are issues with race and gender in our society.
People don't think they have a problem with that? Wow.
Usually it's the people who haven't had to face it themselves, often white people, often males who are in positions of power. And this is nothing against white males. I'm married to a white male and he's a wonderful guy. But as a woman, I will see things that he doesn't see. Or I'm sure as a white person, no one follows me around in the store to see if I'm stealing when I go in the store to buy something. No one stops me for driving a car while white, whereas I have black friends who get stopped often. And they haven't done anything wrong. They're not going through red lights or anything, but they're driving while black. That never happens to me. So I'm not aware of it unless someone comes and tells me about it. And so I would say that is a challenge, is that lack of awareness. And awareness is the first step towards change. That's one of the goals of our training, is bringing that awareness to the forefront and having people share some of those stories. And then a second one, and I think this is probably true for just about every nonprofit, is the schools that we work with say, we don't have any money. We love what you're doing. We want to send people, but our budget was just cut. Or teachers' salaries were just raised, which I think is also critical. Teachers need to have, need their salaries, and they should be fully funded. And then, oh, we just raised teachers' salaries, so we have to cut professional development. We don't have money for training. And so that's probably the second obstacle that we face.
Right, yes. I've heard of that being the case with a lot of different programs. And well, it's really wonderful, the work that you're doing to try to bring this awareness and this unity idea, and abolishment of prejudice. And you know, all nonprofits heavily rely on either corporate sponsors or funds or grants. And what would you say is the deepest source of support that you rely on to help with the funding?
Well, we do. The schools are able to pay a portion, but what they can pay doesn't fully cover the costs. And so we have received a number of grants. We're especially grateful to our local Yakima Valley Community Foundation, which has been supporting us for 5 years now. And we also have a number of individual donors, and mostly individual donors, and the community foundation, and a couple of very small private foundations as well. So.
Okay.
And our board contributes. Our board is all volunteer, and they're also contributing funds.
And now, so far, are you only operating in schools right now in Washington, in the state of Washington?
We are. I was just in California last week. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Or are you looking to expand? Yeah.
we're looking to expand. We're only in Washington State at the moment. My family lives in California, and we were just there visiting last week and speaking with several different universities about the possibility of bringing the program there as well. And I'm very optimistic about that, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, we do have a little bit more time left, and why don't you expand upon those two projects that you wanted to share?
Okay.
Earlier, and that would be wonderful to hear what those are.
I would love to. I don't know if we can show a PowerPoint slide or not. Is that a possibility?
Sure. I will.
I don't know how to do it. So I can just explain it.
Okay.
The slide shows what the project is, but one elementary school, on the final day of our training, they were putting together their action plan, and they weren't quite sure what to do, but they did note that the previous school year, and this is in the summertime when they do the training and put together their plan for the next year, they noted that the previous school year, there were many incidents of racial bias on their campus. This is elementary. There was bullying, name calling, students calling each other the N-word, and it was getting worse. They decided, weren't quite sure what to do, but they decided that they were going to focus on skin color and explain to children that there wasn't a good color and a bad color, that melanin was a natural sunscreen. It was actually a positive thing. And the way they did that, I have a book, it's a curriculum guide for elementary called Teaching Unity. And in that book are a number of activities that schools can do with their students. So they went through all the activities, and for their culminating project, their UnityWorks team painted their faces, their portraits. And that's the picture I could show you at some future date. They painted their portraits, and they posted, and using accurate skin colors, which they mixed with paint and painted on their faces, their portraits, and put those up on the walls outside the office. And then the following day, they had all 50 teachers and 700 students paint their portraits, and they posted those up on the walls throughout the school. And the principal afterwards was in amazement. She said, something incredible happened. She said the very next day, there was not one incident of racial bias. And at the end of the year, she said, and there hasn't been one since. She said, our entire school community, our entire school culture has completely changed. We now feel like we are part of one family. Every skin color is good. We are the flowers of one garden and the leaves of one tree. And why? Because every color was good. Every color was validated. Every face was posted up on the walls. And then it had a ripple effect when the kids brought their parents in and said, look, there's my picture. And the parents were so pleased to see that instead of what had been happening previously. So that's one of the projects that the school.
You know, that's almost, it's almost a good example of the idea of critical mass.
Yes.
And once it starts to flow, the change happens automatically. And that is really mind-blowing to hear how quickly that shifted.
Overnight. And all it cost was $100 for multicultural paint. How simple and how easy.
Wow, that's really quite remarkable. And thank you so much for sharing that, because yeah, that's quite remarkable to have such an overnight success.
Overnight.
Like that. Wow. All right, we have about 3 or 4 more minutes if you want to share the other example you had.
I'll try to be really quick on the other one. This was a middle school, and their grades were low. Student achievement was falling off. Parents weren't involved. And this school, most of the student body was Hispanic. Most of the parents did not speak English and did not participate in any school activities, and in fact did not feel welcome at school. And a lot of the research shows that parent involvement is a key factor in bringing up student achievement. So this UnityWorks team at the middle school decided to set the goal of increasing parent involvement. And they started the year with only 5 parents involved in anything at all. And they worked their program during the year. What they decided to do was focus on culture, the cultures of the students and the parents and all the staff in the school. And they divided themselves up into teams to study the different cultures. So there was a white team and an Hispanic team and a Native American team, and there was even an Inca team. So a lot of our students came from Mexico and descended from Incas. And so each team they met once a month, and began to research their own culture and their own history. And they looked up recipes and prepared food and learned dances and clothing. And at the final culminating presentation at the end of the year, each group got up and presented what they had learned and what they wanted other people to know about their culture. So it was a wonderful sharing. The exciting thing about that, aside from participating in that wonderful event, was that month by month, the teams grew in size and excitement until on that final festival, they went from 5 parents to over 450 parents participating in that activity. That's unheard of. That's incredible. The parents loved it so much, they said, we want to do this again next year, which they did, and the numbers went up. And now they're putting together a recipe book with all that they can share with the rest of the people as well. So just this was their initiative. I didn't tell them what to do. They came up with the idea. They had ownership. They made it work, and it was a success.
Wow, that's really another really inspirational story. Thank you for sharing those. And you're going to be offering a free gift that they're going to want to be sure to click on the link for the free gift. And the free gift, you want to share just a little bit about what it is?
It is. It's called Overcoming Prejudice. It's a 2-page PDF download for parents and teachers with some ideas and some encouragement and some hope for how we can help our children to see each other as fellow human beings.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to want to click on the link below to receive that wonderful gift. And to spread it, because it's wonderful to have the principles like that we can refer to. And yes, and so thank you so much, Randie from UnityWorks. And we're so excited that you were able to share this information with us. And everybody, please stay tuned for future events from the Build a Better World Foundation. We have some exciting events that will be coming up, especially for next year. And we've got just maybe 2 more minutes, Randie. If you got anything else, 2 or 3 more minutes. If you got anything else you want to, final closing thoughts.
Final closing thoughts would be, unity is probably, in my mind, the overarching need of our time. We have all kinds of issues in our country and worldwide. The extremes of wealth and poverty, gender inequality, war, disease, climate change, economic instability, and all of those things. And I think attacking each problem individually will have some results, but limited results, until we recognize that we are one human race. We live on one planet. This is our home. We need to take care of it. We need to take care of each other, and recognizing that unity in all of our diversity, to me, is the critical issue of our time. Probably one of the most vital and challenging issues that we face today. So that's where I've chosen to put my heart and my time. And I really thank you and Build a Better World for the opportunity to share.
Well, it's been wonderful to hear all the wonderful things that you're doing, and it's very exciting and encouraging to know that there's programs like this that are being implemented into our schools and our communities. And so thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all this exciting news.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.